Cancer. Being told you have cancer was a punch in the gut, but being told you have cancer alone was like someone dropped the bomb on you. I was alone and helpless in this beige hospital room. With the pandemic, Michael couldn't stay with me. He, of course, took me to the hospital and waited with me until they called me. But aside from the pandemic, there was Elon. He was home alone, and we weren't expecting a simple appointment to turn into a few days affair. I knew in my gut it was serious when they quickly brought me in and did the biopsy that very same day. Now, my life was about to take a drastic left turn. The doctor came in, and while it was as serious as I thought, the outlook wasn't bad. I was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's adult T-cell leukemia, lymphoma, stage 3. This is a very long name, and it is commonly called ATLL. Now, to give you a brief background about ATLL, it's a type of cancer that only about 2 to 5% of people with the HTLV1 virus will develop. The HTLV1 virus is very common in the Caribbean and South America, and people could live with the virus their entire life and never know they have it and never develop cancer from it. But as my husband likes to say, of course you have to be that rare 2% that gets cancer from it. My husband's humor can sometimes be contentious, but despite myself, I laughed along with him. My husband always tried to help me see some humor in this situation. Being I was alone with no one there with me, the doctor who told me was kind enough to allow me to hold on to him while I bawled my eyes out. I was scared and most of all mad. As you can imagine, dear reader, this was the last thing I expected 2020 to hand me on a not-so-silver platter. A pandemic, sure, that's happening to everyone. But cancer? This can't be happening to me. There was no family history of this cancer. My yearly physicals were all good, except for me always being a little anemic, which I now know was not the case. I had no other diseases, and the longest in my adult life I'd been hospitalized was for 2 days when I gave birth to my son. This was not happening. I kept saying that to myself, building up the courage to tell my husband that the marriage we just started while we were still in the honeymoon phase was about to get flipped upside down with weekly doctor's appointments and visits to the ER if I so much as have a fever over 100.4. Throughout it all, Michael made sure he took care of me. Even when we were fighting, he would put my well-being above all else. The pandemic caused him to be laid off, so he became my full-time caregiver. When you marry, it's for better or for worse. But we had no idea worse would come so quickly after we'd said, I do. It was a lot for him, but throughout it all, he was there for me.